of the great sea is our guiding light.
Islamic History for Kids. Episode 3. The Prophets. Mission begins. Introduction. Assalamu alaikum, kids. Welcome to another exciting episode of Islamic History for Kids. In our last episode, we learned about how Prophet Muhammad received the first revelation in Cave Hira and how the Qur'an began to be revealed. But what happened next? How did the Prophet, peace be upon him, begin his mission of spreading Islam? Did the people of Makkah accept his message? Today, we will explore how the Prophet's mission started and the challenges he faced when he began sharing the message of Islam with the people of Makkah. The beginning. Teaching Islam in secret. At first, Allah commanded the Prophet, peace be upon him, to share the message privately and to teach only those closest to him. He knew that the people of Makkah had been worshipping idols for generations, and many would not accept the message of worshipping one God, Allah, easily. The first believers, the first people to accept Islam were Khadija radiallahu anha, the Prophet's beloved wife, who was always his strongest supporter. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, his closest friend, known for his honesty and wisdom. Ali radiallahu anhu, his young cousin, who showed great love and devotion to Islam. Zayd ibn Haritha radiallahu anhu, a loyal and kind-hearted companion of the Prophet. Gradually, more people accepted Islam, including those who were slaves, the poor, and those searching for the truth. For 3 years, the Prophet, peace be upon him, continued to teach Islam in secret. The early Muslims would meet privately to learn about their faith and worship Allah. One of their secret meeting places was Dar al-Arqam, where they could practice Islam without fear. The public call to Islam. After 3 years of private preaching, Allah commanded the Prophet, peace be upon him, to announce Islam publicly. This was a significant moment in history. The Prophet, peace be upon him, climbed Mount Safa, a hill near the Kaaba, and called the people of Makkah to gather around him. When the people gathered, he asked them, "If I told you that an army was coming to attack, would you believe me?" The people responded, "Yes, you are the most truthful among us." Then the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "I am warning you about Allah's punishment if you do not believe in him alone." The people were shocked. Some listened carefully, but others became angry. One of the angriest people was Abu Lahab, the Prophet's, peace be upon him, uncle. Instead of supporting him, he insulted the Prophet, peace be upon him, and told the people to ignore his message. The opposition to Islam begins. As more people embraced Islam, the leaders of Makkah grew worried. They feared losing their power and influence because Islam taught that all people were equal and should worship only Allah. Some of the biggest enemies of Islam were Abu Lahab, the Prophet's uncle, who rejected and insulted him; Abu Jahl, a powerful leader who strongly opposed Islam; Umayyah ibn Khalaf, a wealthy man who persecuted the Muslims. These leaders began harassing and torturing the early Muslims, hoping they would abandon their faith. The suffering of the early Muslims. The people of Makkah started harming and torturing anyone who accepted Islam. The worst suffering was experienced by slaves and the poor, who had no protection. Bilal radiallahu anhu, a slave who became Muslim, was dragged across the desert and beaten. But he kept saying, Ahad, Ahad, Allah is one. Sumayyah radiallahu anha and her family. They were tortured and became the first martyrs in Islam. Ammar ibn Yasir radiallahu anhu. He watched his parents being tortured but remained steadfast in faith. Even the Prophet, peace be upon him, himself was mocked and insulted in the streets of Makkah. but he never gave up. He continued to invite people to Islam with patience and wisdom. The strength of the early Muslims. Despite the suffering, the early Muslims remained strong in their faith. They believed that Allah would help them. The Prophet, peace be upon him, encouraged them, reminding them that hardships would lead to great rewards. Because of the severe persecution, some Muslims were forced to leave Makkah. The Prophet advised a group of them to migrate to Abyssinia, where a just and kind Christian king, Negus, ruled. He welcomed the Muslims and protected them, allowing them to practice their faith in peace. Conclusion: Islam continues to grow. Even though the people of Makkah tried to stop Islam, the number of Muslims continued to grow. This was only the beginning of the Prophet's, peace be upon him, journey. In the next episode, we will learn about how the Muslims faced even more challenges and how the Prophet continued to spread Islam despite great difficulties. Stay tuned for Episode 4, The Migration to Abyssinia. Key lessons from this episode. The Prophet first preached Islam privately before going public. The early Muslims faced many hardships but stayed strong in their faith. The powerful leaders of Makkah opposed Islam because they feared losing control. Even the Prophet himself was mocked and attacked, but he never stopped spreading Islam. True faith means standing firm, even in difficult times. What did you learn from this episode? Comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Islamic history videos for kids.